David, melech Yisrael, chai David, king of Israel. He lives and endures. This classic Hebrew song has been sung by Jews for generations. Few people in Jewish history, or for that matter all of human history, have had as profound an impact as King David. In many ways, he stands as a model of courage, faith, and inspiration. Though he lived 3,000 years ago, the events of his life and the words that he wrote resonate in our lives today.
David was the 8th and youngest son of the righteous Jesse. He was considered an outcast by his family. When God commanded the prophet Samuel to select the next king of Israel from the family of Jesse, Samuel found the notion of selecting David unimaginable. That was until God chided the prophet and said, "Man sees the external with his eyes, but God probes the hearts of men."
Indeed, David's heart stirred with a profound love and yearning for his Creator. As a lonely shepherd surrounded by the beauty of nature, David would contemplate his relationship to God and developed his ability to express his trust in and love for the Almighty.
The rabbis say, because of the special sensitivity and care that David showed to each sheep in his flock, the Almighty said, "He's the one that I will choose to shepherd my flock, the Jewish nation."
David, who until this point was just an obscure shepherd, his rise to fame came in a moment of great danger for the Jewish people. The army of the Philistines was encamped against us, and King Saul's army was paralyzed. Only David was willing to confront the mighty giant Goliath. David's defeat of Goliath brought him instant fame. He was made a general in King Saul's army, and he led the Jewish people to great military victories. Even though he proved to be a wonderful general, he gave the credit to the Almighty. Still, his meteoric rise was short-lived, though he was a world-famous general, and he was chosen to play music in front of King Saul, and King Saul loved him. That love quickly turned to hate and jealousy, and David was forced to flee as a fugitive. And even at his darkest moments, he never lost faith.
Upon the death of Saul, David ascended to the throne at the age of 30 and would rule over the people of Israel for 40 years until his death.
David's first accomplishment as king was to establish Jerusalem as the capital city of the Jewish people. He did this because David knew that the center of Jewish life would not be driven by political or economic considerations. Other cities in Israel would have been better suited to this. David wanted Jerusalem to be the spiritual center for the Jewish people. It was in Jerusalem many generations earlier where God revealed himself to Abraham when he offered up his son Isaac, as God had commanded him. This was also the historic site where God appeared to Jacob in his dream of the ladder and spoke to him about the great nation he would build. Jerusalem is where God's presence is most manifest, and it is where he wants his people to seek him in prayer. This would be David's capital.
David's life is beset with so many difficulties. His own son, Absalom, rebels against him and seizes the throne. Even though he's forced to leave and loses everything, he still loves his son, and he's devastated when he hears that his son was killed. Despite having almost lost his kingdom, and despite losing his child, even with everything, David still maintains his faith and love of the Almighty.
Another painful and misunderstood episode in David's life was his relationship with Bathsheba, who would become his wife and mother of Solomon, his heir. Though the Bible mentions that she was the wife of Uriah, the Talmud clearly demonstrates that she was divorced at that time. It was the custom of all soldiers in David's army to grant their wives a divorce before going to battle. David's relationship with Bathsheba was not sinful, but it was unseemly for a man of David's standing. The prophet Nathan harshly criticized David for this. With the utmost humility, David accepted full responsibility for his actions, becoming a model for all in how to beg forgiveness from God for one's sins.
King David's lifelong goal had been to build a house of God called the Temple right here in Jerusalem. David was denied that goal because God said to him, "You've shed too much blood in all of the wars that you've done." Even though David was denied this privilege, David did everything he could to make sure the temple would become a reality. He obtained the land. He gathered the funds together. Due to his efforts, God established for eternity that the temple will always be called the House of David.
Although David was a brilliant military leader and king, his crowning achievement was his composing of the Book of Psalms. The full range of emotions of the human experience and one's relationship with God are addressed in the stirring words of David. His Psalms bring comfort, inspiration, and strength to all those who endure life's challenges.
Many of these psalms were originally composed to music and were created to inspire and uplift a person in all situations. Tradition has it that King David had a harp next to his bed, and when the early morning winds would blow, David would arise, learn Torah, and sing the praises of the Almighty, earning him the title of Sweet Singer of Israel.
The psalms that David composed are unparalleled in the range and power of emotions he expressed in his joy of serving God and living according to the Torah and in facing the perils to his life. The language of Jewish prayer and of anyone who wants to connect to God can be found in David's Psalms.
A final note about David's significance has more to do with the future than with his past accomplishments. From the moment that David was affirmed as God's Mashiach, or anointed king, the lineage of the ultimate Mashiach, or Messiah, was established. As God's holy anointed king, and as the sweet singer of Israel, David's legacy of inspiration, strength, and hope still resonates today. The holy city of Jerusalem, where we are privileged to walk today, was established by David as Israel's eternal capital. May we soon merit to see the day when, as the prophet Isaiah said, "Many people shall go and say, 'Come, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For from Zion shall go forth Torah, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem.'"
Na 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 na.